Yes, Jose. Welcome to Big Conversations by Ordinary People podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've been talking actually slightly before we started the podcast about the good practices of agriculture, and you'll get like a chance to tell us like who you are, what you do. But I want to first give you my rant so you can add it into your introduction.
Okay.
Every time I've tried building agriculture stuff, I have failed. I tried a very big plantation. Someone pitched to me about growing groundnuts in Bujiri. I put in a lot of money, and I couldn't. The result, I couldn't afford to pay the guy harvesting them. So I told him, harvest and take if you want, because I didn't have the money. Wasn't just the money coming out of the harvest wasn't enough to even pay him. The other thing was what? Was maize. Well, the maize actually did well, but then it was we harvested at that time when Kenya was messing with Ugandan maize. So now it messed up the prices, right? So the issue now that I want you to explain to me is, what am I doing wrong, right? But first, please introduce yourself. Sorry, my phone had...
Okay. Thank you so much. My names are Ogwal Joseph. I am the founder and CEO of Agro Supply. We are an agricultural company, like now a fintech company that has developed the first mobile layer payment platform that helps smaller farmers pay for agricultural inputs in installment, so they don't have to take them on credit. We are also an importer of agricultural input to Uganda. We import a broad agricultural inputs from maize, sorghum, soybean. We're now going into fertilizers and sunflower as well as beans. So we're trying to work with B2C customers. Those are directly with smaller farmers who buy through that designated technology that we have developed, because there's a lot of credit that people are giving to smaller farmers, but we believe that credit is good, right? But smaller farmers are kind of small people and they live in rural areas. Some of them have never even had a bank account, but all they have is their mobile phone, feature phone. So we have created a platform that would help them pay for agricultural inputs during dry season to be able to get them when rain comes back. And we're also working with what we call the B2B customers. Those are farmer organizations, large-scale farmers like yourself, those who can afford money. Breweries like the Uganda breweries that we supply, and other corporate people that want to venture into agriculture. These are people that we supply them agricultural input, good agricultural inputs, and then also do a little bit of extension services, telling them how to plan, how to monitor the crops so that they can get the best yield.
Oh, I see. So by input here, you mean seeds?
Yes, we mean seeds.
Oh, okay. And when you talk about the technology part of it, myself, I'm a techie, as you know. First, describe to me, what is this and how does it work, basically? So
I have been in agriculture sector my whole life. I started farming when I was, I think 10 years with my parents, deep somewhere in Lira district. So I've seen the struggle that my parents always go through, planting crop and not harvesting anything, like you said yourself.
Yeah.
So this has always been a trend. And then I decided that I'm going to study agriculture. I studied agriculture in whole level, from certificate, diploma up to where. And then I went into employment. I worked with different organizations in Uganda. And when I was employed, my role was to give smaller farmers input and develop a repayment plan on those microloans that smaller farmers have taken. The truth is, I never really achieved 100% repayment rate, yet I worked with 4 different organizations doing the same thing. The highest that I did was 65% return rate, so which was really poor. Now, people might think that smaller farmers are too poor. They are not. It is the agricultural season that people need to study. So when you look at, let's give, for instance, someone who hands salary. People hand salary at the end of the month. The money is coming to an end now. But October is going to start from January, from the 1st of October, until 31st of October. Now tell me, when it is reaching 15th of October, if your salary that you have hand toward the end of September will still be there. Even if you hand 3 million, 4 million. People have basic need that they need to take care of. The same with agriculture. Now, smaller farmers hand at the end of the season, they hand close, others hand 3 million, 5 million, 1,800,000, and so on. Now they have 3 to 4 months when they're not doing anything, when they're not doing agriculture, before a new season comes back. Okay, so during these 3 to 4 months is when smaller farmers spend their money on different things that they need, medical bill, food, education, and other things. Now, when rain comes back 4 months or 3 months afterward, smaller farmers doesn't have money to buy seeds, fertilizer, and other things. Yet that is what they need. When it starts raining now, a smaller farmer does not need anything other than seed, fertilizer, and what they can bury down. Okay. Now, since they don't have money, typical solution that every techie or every innovator is offering is developing a system that determines their credit score, developing a system that will give them seeds on credit, developing something that provides input on credit. It is still input, right? Which is okay. But I have worked in the credit sector. I've given smaller farmers input on credit. So I wanted to find an innovative way that gives smaller farmers access to the high quality seed that we have, but without taking them on credit. And then I remember one time in 2017, I was buying iron sheet for my house. I was buying some iron sheet. And then I didn't have all the money. The hardware shop told me, if you don't have all the money, you can pay in installment. Okay? If you have 500,000, come and put it here. You have 50,000, 100, come and put it here. When you finish payment, you'll take your iron sheet. So I also relate. By then I was doing a business sustainability program in Sweden. So I've also seen the way how people in developed countries pay for basic needs. iPhone, houses, cars, and so on. They pay in installment. No one pays in cash if you don't have cash. Now I was like, how can we develop a system that helps smaller farmers plan for their season in advance? I know that I'm Kenneth. I have harvested my maize or my sorghum or whatever I had planted the previous season. Right now, I have 1 million Uganda shilling. In 3 months' time, when rain comes back, or in 4 months, I want to plant maize or sorghum or whatever I want to plant in 3 months or 4 months. I want to plant in an acre of land. An acre of land needs 10 kilos of seed. 10 kilos of seed is worth 80,000. Okay, if you want fertilizer, we had what's the quantity of fertilizer that's plant 10 kilos of seed. So you know your cost of production for the season. Now, what you need to do as a farmer is start paying for it now when you still have the money. Okay, so that's where our system now comes in. Our system helps them plan for their season in advance, as well as help them to start making payment for it. Now, typical payment method, because in our system, every farmer needs to do a registration. You register, you get what we call a farmer ID, which is a first time identification number. And then we know where the farmer lives, their gender, their age difference, and all those kind of things, their location. So we know almost so many things about them. Now, what they need to do, we innovated what we call agro-supply scratch card. They work because we want to build a system that matches how farmers live their life. Now, how every farmer in rural area live their life is that they move. Farmers buy things on a daily basis. They're not like you people who buy sugar and stock it for a month, who buy cooking oil and stock. Farmers buy the things every day. They buy, eat it, go back tomorrow to the shop and buy. As well as every farmer in the village, when MTN was still using, the mobile telecom companies were still using the scratch card model, farmers would buy airtime scratch card on a daily basis. They go with 50 shilling, buy scratch, top up their phone credit to call their family and friends. So we wanted to build a system that matches how these farmers already live their life so that they don't have to bother adjusting into new technology. So we innovated what we call a agro-supply scratch card. These scratch cards are just like those scratch cards that were there a long time ago. And then we employed young people to work within the community as village agents. So these agents are mandated to sell scratch cards. These scratch cards are of different denomination. 2,000, 5, 10, 15. The biggest is, I think, 50,000. Now, you as a farmer, you already know your target for the next coming season. I need seed. This is the amount of seed. I need fertilizer. This is how much. You know that you're supposed to make payment 100,000 to get that seed. You can just go to an agent, buy the card, scratch the card. Our system uses SSD. You'll just enter *24*8#, bring the menu. You select payment for seed. That is one. It will enter your farmer ID. You enter your farmer identification number, bring your name, enter the scratch card number, and automatically you have made payment. So if you place 10,000, your account is 10,000. If you had another 2,000, you go to 12,000 until you reach that amount. And then when rain comes back, you request for the seed. We deliver the seed to you, and we just train you on how to plant it for free. We train you, and then afterward we connect you to the available market that we have. People who can offtake from me at a better price, more than what the local offtakers are.
Oh, I see.
Getting,
wow,
yeah.
That's quite a busy ecosystem. So you have to basically employ a bunch of kids to move around this.
Yes, but that is almost changing, because when COVID came, there was a lot of social distance movement and so on. So we also included a digital layaway system where you can make payment using mobile money. Yeah. So right now we have not only smaller farmers, even large scale farmers like yourself. You can pay for agricultural inputs in installment and just come to our store and pick it. Because when you come to our store, you're like going to withdraw money. You need to initiate to withdraw your seed. Your account balance will be 100,000. You initiate a withdrawal. Our person at the store will approve it. You get seed worth 100,000.
I see.
Yeah.
Two things though that come to my mind, right? Today is say I want to plant 3 months from now. Right?
Yes.
In Jan, I want to plant some stuff. So I start paying 1,000 every day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But then it reaches November, and the alarm goes on my land. My brother wants to steal my land, and they kill a goat, and I can't plant there basically because rangos are there. Do I lose all this money now? What happens to that money?
You don't lose the money. We have had issues like that. So we are not an insurance company where you're paying money for insurance, then you get a take and so on. Yeah. You're paying money for agricultural product that we already have. So if you have issue in a season and you can't withdraw your money, you can wait when the next season comes, because there are 2 seasons in a year in Uganda. So if first season you cannot plant because your money is going to be in your account, you can plant the next season. You can come back and pick your seed. We always have a lot of seeds. What the difference is, what happened is that I've seen is that someone might have their target for a season with 50,000, and then they end up paying 40,000. So that means they have not hit the target for that season. We don't refuse giving you seed. You still come and pick the seed worth 40,000. If you're taking, if an acre of land need 10 kilos of seed, you paid for 8, you still come and take whatever you're paid for.
You just plant for the stuff.
Yes.
I see. So let's talk about the planning itself. Are you helping this guy? Because I imagine now, for me, for example, right? This is my process of farming, right? We identify a good place that a certain specific crop can grow. For example, when I planted groundnuts in Bujiri, we managed to get a guy to give us a good deal for the land. So we were able to rent a huge chunk of land for very cheaply, and then we started looking for, this is what you need to, you need the good seeds, where we're going to look for the good seeds from, you need this kind of fertilizer, where you're going to get the fertilizer from, you need this kind of manpower, where you're going to get the manpower from. Do you also provide that as a service? Can I come to, it's a agro supply, yes. Can I come to agro supply and say, hey Jose, I have 15M, give me a package?
Okay, so we don't do that. Okay. So how that works, I've seen companies who do that. That is called corporate farming. We don't do corporate farming. Okay. So corporate farming works in that way, where you go to a company and tell them, you know what, I want to invest this money in agriculture. Then they will take your money, go and invest somewhere, return it to you with a percentage and so on, with all the profits and so on. So maybe you share the profits and so on. What happened is that we're working with farmers who are already doing farming. Okay, you have your land somewhere in Bugiri, like you said, or in Kayunga or in Lira, but you're struggling to get access to seed, knowledge, and market. So we are helping farmers get out of poverty using the resources they already have.
I see. Cool.
For the large scale farmers, the B2B that we just introduced the B2B sales system recently. Guys who already know what they're doing, guys who already have money, like you're talking about, to come and get seeds, because we have one of the best seeds in this country. We're importing very good seeds from very good seed companies across Africa. Even if it means going outside Africa, we are testing seeds from India, from Indian seed companies, from South African seed companies. We are there to make sure that we do all the work in sourcing, making sure we have the best inputs, making sure we have affordable payment system, making sure that we provide smaller farmers with knowledge, connect them to market so they can increase their income. Because we even have a way how we can determine that. So our system helps us determine how much money has Kenneth made in a day, because we already know the investment you're making. It's documented to us, because through the system we know how you're spending your money on a daily basis. If Kenneth puts 5,000 today on inputs, then the next week put 1,000, we know that there was a fluctuation in his income within these few days. So we know how you manage your money on a daily basis. Then there's also what we call the payment trend that these farmers have. Women tend to pay very early in the morning, while men pay in the evening. So there is also that trend that we keep monitoring, because right now, out of the 15,000 and plus that farmers that we have, 48.2% are women. So there are so many women who are coming into agriculture because of the payment system that we have introduced, giving them something secretive to pay for agricultural inputs and own their land and own the input. Because the reason why women fear farming is because they are always forced to be under men. Okay, but now they have a system where they can pay for agricultural input secretly, then they can have it, they can go and plant it themselves. So we don't do like the way you're saying. When we're helping farmers who already have the resources, elevate themselves out.
All right. So if I had a plan, right? So I had a target. I want to say, do the same thing, like plant maize on an acre.
Yes.
Is this something that I tell you in advance? So because I imagine there are some advantages in telling in advance. If I told Agro Supply that my target for next season is to plant maize on 2 acres, and then you give me a budget, is that something you do for?
Yes, so the system does that.
Okay, I see.
Yes, so if you want to do maize in an acre of land, the system will tell you how much seed is required, and also the agent help these farmers plan, because right now we have over 130 across Uganda. So the agents also help the farmers plan. Immediately the season is over and farmers are planning, they're always together with the agent. I want to plan. So the reason why people fail in agriculture are so much related to inputs and planning. There are different inputs, but all inputs are meant for different seasons. In first season is short rain. That means you need crop that will mature below 100 days. In second season, you have a longer period of time. That means you can do 116, 120, 126 days crop. There will be no problem. So we have also different varieties of maize. We have what we call the shortest variety of maize that we have is called Songora 001, which takes only 80 days in the garden and it is out. And then we have another variety called Doma 403 that takes 100 days and it is out. And then we have what we call the elephant, the 719, that takes close to about 5 months and it comes out. But that's give the highest yield compared to the short-term varieties.
I see.
The longer period the variety takes in the garden, the higher the yield.
Yeah.
Now, if a farmer is planning, we give them all those options. Okay, you as a farmer, you're using the system. Sit with an agent, says, I have 2 acres of land, I want to plant maize. Okay, you also need to consider that what you're going to plant, Agro Supply should be able to market. You cannot go and plant millet and we cannot find a market for millet.
I see.
It has to be something that is marketable. We have different off-takers for different crops that we sell to farmers. Okay, we have off-takers for maize, off-takers for sorghum, off-takers for soybean, off-takers for sunflower. All these things have off-takers. If farmers want some, like recently we have a request. We always do what we call a survey to farmers. What can we introduce? Recently we had a request, a lot of them asking for sunflower and beans. Okay, we had to look. So who is going to buy beans? Who is going to buy sunflower? Sunflower already have a lot of buyers. Okay. But who is going to offtake beans? We need to look for someone who is going to offtake. Is there a market for beans? I see. Because it's not only for consumption. There also has to, like I said, we also need to track the income. The main thing is increasing smaller farmers' income. So the system helps you that, as well as the agent also helps you in making sure that they give they plan with you and you know the exact amount. Also, one thing that makes people fail in agriculture is you find that you are going to Bugiri, you have done an acre of land, because you don't have knowledge. An acre of land takes 10 kilos of seed if you want to get maximum yield. You're going to plant 5 kilos and make the spacing large, and you get almost like a quarter of what you are supposed to get.
I see.
Yeah, so you need to have all those knowledge. Those are the things we tell the farmers. Do the right thing, don't do what is easy.
Yeah, so maybe I planted less than I was supposed to plant.
Maybe you also used
yeah. Also, do you remind, so if for example, because 3 months is a very long time, especially for people who feed hand to mouth, right?
Yeah.
Do you remind me, for example, that, hey, we expected this kind of money this week, but you didn't buy any scratch cards?
So the system is automatic. Immediately, it takes about 2 months. It will send you automatic message that reminds you that, hey, Kenneth, your payment plan, you've paid this amount, you still have this amount to go. Yeah, so that you're in check that you need to make payment for agriculture. But when you pay regularly on a weekly basis, we have program in 2 weeks. When you pay regularly, it doesn't send you any message.
Oh, I see. That's okay. That's interesting. Let's also first talk a little bit about the market. Do I have guarantees?
Yes. So So the way we have done the market bit of it is that we don't want to sign contract with farmers and like tie them. That is monopoly. That is dictatorship. Trying to dictate farmers to only sell to gross supply because we hold the pillar of good quality seed that they have. Yeah. So we have to tie them. No. As our mission says, increasing the income of smaller farmers, we want to leave it open. Okay. If the off-takers that we're working with, because we always have off-takers, yes, the market is guaranteed. If the off-takers that we're working with is giving less price compared to what farmers know that is giving higher price, we're going to let the farmer sell to that person. And then our off-taker will not get. Okay, because we want the highest, we want the price also, the market to also be competitive for the off-takers and for other people who want to buy. We want farmers to get the highest price. Yeah. But the only thing that needs to happen though is that even if a farmer gets another buyer who is offering a higher price, our agent need to take the transaction. Because that is how we track the impact of that's how we track the impact of our work. They need to register what kind of kilos.
And maybe the other side of that question is what happens in a bad market. You produced beans, but then there is too many beans in the market. What happens? Who takes that loss, for example?
So it always gets back to the farmer. They can either decide to hold on to what they've produced until the price go high, or they can sell some part of it. We always give them an advice. Since right now the market is fluctuating, there is a lot of grain in the market and so on. If you can hold on for this period of time, you will get better market. There are those ones who can do that. Then there are those ones who cannot do that. I have not seen a scenario where there was the market fluctuated and there were so many farmers who made losses in farming, because we can know if maybe like out of 15,000 farmers, 10,000 got losses in farming. No, we have not had that. We have had scenarios where a lot of farmers planted maize and then I think like 20% didn't do well. They got like negative in terms of farming. Then the rest of them that planted other crops were doing so well, as well as others who hold on to their grain got a better market afterward. So we always advise them on
I see.
Yeah.
So, holding on to your grain means extra services. Do you also offer like storage and things like that? Because that is like an important factor if I'm able to hold on or not.
So right now what we're doing is we're trying to actually be the market by ourselves. We don't want to go through off-take as a gross supply. We want to buy by ourselves.
I see.
So we're working on building one of the biggest grain processing facility in Uganda, where we buy from farmers all this grain, do processing, and then we can sell. We also want to offer storage facility for farmers who want to wait for market to go high. For now, we still don't have that services, but we are planning to have that. At least by 2023, we should be having that.
I see. So now I'm very convinced that this thing may work for me. How do I get in touch? Like, where do I start?
So where do you start? There are so many ways that you can start. You can go to our website, www.agrosupplyLTD.com, and then call the number which is available there. Or we also have a sales store in Kampala at Kingsway Plaza, shop number G13. You can also walk there and find a very beautiful lady who will come you and tell you everything about farming. When it comes to the layaway system, we don't want to give the payment code. I cannot tell you now that you dial star 123 because we want to know exactly where does this person stay. If there is a way that we can know you, that would be better. If you can go to the store and get registered from the store before you start using the services, that would be okay. Because if I am to tell you that dial this number, then you make payment, then are you going to look for us?
But that makes sense.
For people who are like in northern Uganda, because we are in northern, eastern, then we're starting West Nile, Karamoja region, and that side of Mbale, as well as Bugiri and Kayunga, those places. Okay. You can get the layaway system, payment system in those areas.
Oh, I see.
Even in Kasese, a little bit, in Mubende, a little bit of it in one sub-county called Kachungwa, you can get the but in other places you cannot. For large-scale farmers who want to use it, go to the store and register from there. Let the lady register you and start making payment and just come and pick your seeds.
I see. So one of the other things though that is a big issue when you're doing farming is the human resources themselves, right?
Yes.
And this can happen with crops, but also with livestock,
yes.
Right? Getting the right person to take care of your farm, of your garden for you, or you having that expertise, for some people who actually do the actual farming?
Yeah, so that is one thing that is in my plan. So as someone who has studied agriculture, I have the knowledge. What we always do is that we replicate knowledge to the agents that we employ. So we want to have what we call the extension corps across Uganda, people who can help when there's need. So very soon we're going to start what we call a fellowship for young people within the community who want to serve their community as extension workers. Join Agro-Supply Fellowship, be trained on how to replicate the knowledge to farmers, both in crop and in animal production. So it's not going to be like an agricultural. It's not going to be like an agricultural college, because these are people who cannot afford agricultural college. But this is a fellowship that is going to train young people on basic knowledge about extension services. That is something that I am working with a partner that is going to come on board to make sure they sponsor that. So we're going to, because out of this, all these 130 extension workers that we're working with, these are people who have just finished certificate in education, others P7, others have not even gone to school but have interest in agriculture. So we employ them, we determine their interest in agriculture, train them, and these people can work like nothing. They train the farmers, the same knowledge we give them, we go and give the farmers. We give them simple knowledge. How do you do plant spacing? How do you space maize? How do you space sorghum? How do you space soybean? How do you detect good seed? How do you? So we train them on different kind of different knowledge, simple knowledge, so that they can replicate the same knowledge we have taught them to smaller farmers.
I see.
Yes.
The thing that affects many businesses, I've not done, I mean, apart from the agricultural ventures that I've gone into and failed, I haven't gone strongly into agriculture per se, but I've done other businesses.
Yes.
And as a businessman in Uganda, I'm wondering, if you come up with just innovative stuff like this, where are you finding the funding? That's a big question most people ask, how do you fund a startup, for example, to a place where it's a comfortable business?
So when I started Agro-Supply in 2017, I more or less started with my own money. Then I got $5,000 grant from Tori Lumelo Foundation. And then there is always need in a startup. Then we started raising money from different investors, different funders, grant funders, and so on. So we started looking for credit because there's huge number of farmers who need a lot of input, not only for $100,000, for more than even $100,000. And a young man talking to companies that have been there for 20 years and need cash with their input. So you need to have at least money. So we started raising money as a startup. We started pitching to different investors. Our idea, our impact idea, how we want to get input to smaller, how we want to develop agricultural sector in Uganda. I have pitched to people. I have moved when it comes to looking for money. And I mean, out of 100 people that you pitch to, you'll get, unfortunately, from almost 9 of them, and one person will say, okay, I want to listen to your idea, and so on. Then you'll get the money. The most important thing is, how do you get the money to start? I think that was the most difficult part when it comes to pitching Agro-Supply. Because when we got the 5,000, we started looking for how do we get the 50,000, how do we get the 100, how do we get the 200, how do we get 300, how do we get $500,000, how do we get... So we are still there. We still keep pitching each and every time to make sure we get money to finance, but we also use our revenue now. We are profitable companies, so that means we have now money to sustain a business, but we don't have money to expand a business. That means that we need to still continue raising money to expand into different regions that we want to go to, as well as add new product line into our portfolio. So raising money does not stop. We want to build a factory. We still don't have that kind of money. Building a fully furnished processing facility will cost us more than $500,000. So we still need to look for that money. Okay, so it doesn't stop, but startups need to, if you want to be a startup founder, even for a podcast channel like this, you need to raise money, because otherwise this lights doesn't come by itself. Even if you're using your own income, I remember there was a time we pitched somewhere. Then the person we were competing with was doing a podcast. Actually, she had an idea of doing a podcast for farmers across Uganda, across Africa, and she's an American person, and she came second.
Oh, I see.
And she got about 200,000 or something.
I'm very, very inspired. And since you said you're profitable, now I have to pitch to you. How much money can you give us to?
I don't think I'm the right person to pitch to.
So anyway, let me just give you a small brief of what we're trying to do, right? So this started as a podcast between friends, right?
Yes.
So people sit and they talk about anything.
Yeah.
But then during the COVID thing, we couldn't sit, so we decided to take it online. It wasn't that good. And then after the first lockdown was loosened, we decided, why don't we try to actually make this a real thing? So we invested, we bought some of the equipment you see here. But the whole goal for us is to take back our own stories. So, the thing about, for example, like, your story, you start from Lira 10 farming with your parents, right? Most times people hear stories like yours is when a white man is hosting you, right? So you sit on CNN, white man hosts you, and you have to dramatize it also to sound real African, something like that. Well, we thought, if these are stories, why don't we tell them, right? Why don't we take charge of that part of storytelling? And that is sort of what we're trying to do. And we have the podcast, we produce a lot of podcasts for other people, but we also want to try, for example, we can do a documentary with you, around the whole ecosystem, how a person starts to subscribe, and, that's some of the content we are looking into. And I'm wondering, how are you, how do you do any advertising? How do you come into the digital world? How do you be part of the digital world today? How do you keep that internet presence?
So when it comes to agriculture sector, when it comes to advertising, first of all, you need to know your audience.
Okay.
I cannot advertise on TV to start with, because people who are on TVs are elite people. Most of them actually don't want to. They only want to eat food, but they don't want to know where it comes from. So what we always do is we always take our advertising to radio station out of Kampala. Like, we advertise with radio station in Lira, in Gulo, in Soroti, all those places where farmers can listen to what we're doing. We also do training on those radio stations. We go there, pay for airtime, train farmers on those radio stations. Recently, we hired a social media person, a social media manager, to manage a social media platform, because there are so many messages and it was bugging me up because I was the only one managing. So we hired an independent social media person. So this person now curate contents, manage the social media, and so on. So we're trying to now, since we have now introduced the B2B model, we're now trying, how can we get people like you who want to do farming in Bugire and doing so badly, get to know about agro supply and what we do. So that is why the person is there, to put us there, make agro supply be known, and a variety, and what we're trying to do, what kind of seed we promote, and so on, and how can we help those ones who are into agriculture but doesn't know where to get good quality, or detect good quality seed, get seeds from. Where can they get the knowledge? Where can they get the market from? So that is why we hired a social media person. But social media really worked. I remember our first advertising in Lira was in 2018, and it really helped. It got us a lot of customers. That's where we got the first client to test, about 500 of them, to test the payment system that really worked, and we started expanding.
I see. So the way I'm looking at this also is part of, say, what the agents do, is move information forward.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, and the best way to do that is create sort of video content. So, for example, for us, right? I imagine if I'd watched, say, a YouTube video from Agro Supply showing me, this acre of land, this is how much seed you need, this is the kind of spacing that makes sense, for someone like demoing this to me, that would have had a little bit more value. Maybe I don't go and plant the seeds myself, but when I go with the guys we hired to consult for us the farming part, I know exactly, I don't know exactly, but I know when he's misinforming me, for example, right? And I'm wondering, are you guys looking at investing? And the reason I'm actually saying this is, if you look at, like, from the African perspective, 90% of the world's knowledge in Africa is imported, right? It's very, very, very few, very little knowledge that comes, that's originally African knowledge, like very few, if it comes to like innovations, if you look at, say, those Nobel Prizes and whatever, it's very, very little knowledge that is initiated from Africa and exported to the world, but a significant chunk of like knowledge that we consume is imported. And I'm wondering whether, there could be an opportunity for...
Yeah, so before COVID, we planned of curating content because we're doing training. So when you're doing training and you want farmers to understand well, you need to, sometimes you need to use graphics and so on. We need to use videos. So the agents live there. We wanted to give them smartphones and start pushing a video content to them. That is something that we had. And then COVID came in and there was social distance and all those kind of things that came with it. So we decided to put that on hold. And then we started doing SMS, where we write content on messages since we have their number, and do a bulk SMS and push to their number. But there's a lot of challenges with that. You imagine sending messages to 1,000 people and only 3 of them opening the message. You can see from the back end that their content is going, but people don't check their messages. Even people who are educated don't check their messages. Now, the next thing is that we're thinking about, how can we really get the information to farmers with the current pandemic? Okay. The next step that we're taking, can we develop an AI extension services, whereby if a message reaches a farmer's phone, instead of them looking at it, the AI system reads for them. Okay, and how do we translate that into local languages? Because all our messages goes into local languages. We don't want to bug farmers with so much English about planting crops and so on. They won't understand. So we are always thinking about how can we innovate to make things easy for smaller farmers, and that is what to do. If this whole pandemic goes away, then that idea of curating contents about training, about agriculture and so on, and having it there is very good. We are actually going to resume that and start documenting videos or graphic videos, contents that show a farmer how to plan, how to do all the things in a graphical way, so that they can understand. An agent can just play for a farmer, and a farmer will know everything that is happening.
I see. So one of the other things you mentioned is a significant chunk of the business also collecting this data. So you collect the data even from farmers who who end up using services that are not yours, right?
Yes.
What are some of the value adds that this data has given?
So this data has really helped. First of all, it helps us understand what's the mindset of people within the community. What do they really want? And how can we use this data to drive the need of farmers? I told you we know exactly how smaller farmers live their life on a daily basis. How does farmers really move? Because for you to make payment in the morning, that means you are going to do something. So you got an agent and you made payment. For you to have a trend of making payment only in the evening, what drives that? Does it mean that you drink every day in the evening? So when you're going to drink, you have to buy a credit card and make payment for agricultural inputs. So we have a lot of data about farmers, and how we can use that is, like we can send a message, we can send a survey to farmers. What other thing are you struggling with making payment for that we can introduce? Add to the layaway system to help you make payment for, make the payment easier. Recently we did that, and we got a lot of farmers crying that the pay-go model that people are using to pay, that they're using to pay for solar system is expensive. Farmers want to own solar system. They don't want to pay using the pay-go model because it becomes expensive. I don't know if you know how pay-go models work, because pay-go model works.
Pay-go is the MTN thing, right?
No, it's not only MTN. It's now every solar company is taking it, where they give you a solar, you get a solar light, then pay all period of time. A solar light of $100, you can pay for 5 years. Imagine if you're paying $5 every month for 5 years. That becomes a lot of money. It becomes expensive. And the disadvantage is that when you miss a day, they're going to disconnect you remotely and you will not have power, even if you have solar on top of your roof. You see? So farmers are saying, since we have the system that is working for us, for paying inputs, we own it. Why can't we start paying for solar lights using the pay-go model? We're using the layaway system instead of the pay-go model. I see. Okay. I see. So this data helps us in getting a lot of information, and how we can create development using the same data that we get.
I see. So you're trying to say here that you're imagining a future where your alternative for payment complements or even replaces credit, basically.
Yes. We can actually decide that AgroSupply wants to bring a system for elite people to pay for iPhones. iPhone 13 is just out. People cannot own it. We can decide, Kenneth, pay for it using layaway system. I see. Then you own it. But now how does that work? We need to get in contact with banks. Where it connects. If people who have bank account and who have income, but doesn't want to invest $1,200 in iPhone, but want to own iPhone, pay for it using layaway system. We'll give you a period. Let's say 3 months or 4 months to pay, and you own the phone, or we will give you the phone, we deduct the money over a period of time if you have a stable income. So it's just a matter of having the system and determining how do we use the system to broaden our services. Okay? Because we're having data from different
Yeah,
farmers.
what inspires this approach to payment? Is it that you hate credit so much? Is it that you've...
So I believe that when people take money, they don't pay. You see? So how can you innovate a way in such a way that someone can use their own finances to get what they want?
I see,
Okay?
I see.
Because even friends, you borrow someone 500 Uganda shilling and they will never pay back. Or they will pay back, but they will pay back after a long period of time, after a lot of calling and so on. So you're going to lose a lot of friends if you give a lot of money out. So it now came in, like I told you, I worked in the credit system. I gave smaller farmers credit for 4 years and I never achieved 80% recovery rate. The highest was 65% with a lot of hassle. People cancel loan, but if you manage it very well, the credit system also works for you. Okay. And secondly, I have other organizations who come to AgroSupply to buy inputs to go and give to smaller farmers on loan. Products are actually cheaper when you're buying it for yourself. Yeah. Because imagine these companies come and buy at a certain price, go and sell to smaller farmers at a certain price, add 9% interest on it after a certain. So it becomes as well as expensive. Okay, interest is credit is expensive. People who use layaway or people who use this kind of payment system to pay for iPhone in the United States don't buy at $1,200. The prices is always higher. You can even buy at $1,800 or even $2,000 by the time you finish the payment. So if you want to pay for something and own it on your own, it is always cheaper in comparison to. So I always believe that smaller farmers live in rural areas. So why should we bug them with credit? Yet we can innovate a better way for them to use their own finances to invest in whatever they want.
Oh wow, I see. So here I am, right? I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
Right? I have this chunk of land. I come to Lewe for this
AgroSupply.
AgroSupply. I'm saying AgroSupply. Yeah, for this amount of money. My option is I pay
cash. Yes.
Oh, so there's also the option of me giving
if you are a farmer and you really have real money to pay for inputs, yes, we will sell it to you and we'll provide you with the necessary training that you need. So AgroSupply wasn't a fintech company. We actually an agri-input distribution company. We distribute input. The system is just a sale mechanism. It's just a sale system to help us sell seed to people without giving them a credit.
I see.
Okay? Yeah. It's like iPhone also have a method of people paying for iPhone, but they're not a fintech company. Their business model is to sell iPhone.
I see. Yeah, yes. Okay. That makes sense.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this thing about importing input, right? I've had these conversations. We have Kawanda, for example.
The research center,
right? Yeah. And people are saying that a lot of seeds are being imported rather than investing in sort of structures that allow us to modify seeds locally for our own lands, right? And I want to pick your brain on that. What do you think? Why is AgroSupply instead of building that factory you're going to build, why don't you build a research center and you start modifying for us maize?
Well, the idea is that if we can, because production of seed is a whole package. Kawanda is doing amazing job, okay, in making sure that they release varieties of seeds and so on. Now the problem is not Kawanda. The problem is with the seed companies that produce the seed. Because Kawanda just regulate them. It's like a government institution that do the testing and so on. But the seed companies that are producing seed need to make sure that their seed is of high quality. When we didn't start with importing seed, we were sourcing seed from within. But there were some challenges that we were getting. It was not getting us to where we want in terms of germination, in terms of output, and so on. So we started testing seeds from other countries in comparison to what is available. Then we found out that seed from other countries that are regulated in a good way, that people invest in the production in a scientific way, actually germinate more, give higher output. Then we're like, so if our main mission as a company is to increase the income of smaller farmers, why should we derail them? Why should we have them use this instead of having them use better inputs? That is why we started importing input. But even though we're importing, we still have regulators. We need to get import permit from the ministry and so on. So the ministry need to give us import permit to get all the things to make sure that whatever we're bringing is hybrid, we are not bringing any other thing into the country. So when you talk about do I really want to venture into production of seed? I think for now, no. I would not want to, because there is already someone whose job is to produce seed. Okay? If that person can do and supply us the quantity that we need, with these seed companies that are working with, unless we reach a certain milestone and they can give us the right of replicating those same varieties in Uganda, then I will do that. But in terms of starting from scratch and then developing those varieties by ourselves and start promoting, I won't be able to invest in that, actually.
I see. So this seed thing is not, from the way you're describing it, it seems like it is no longer a natural thing anymore. If you're saying some people can it's sort of like sharing with you intellectual property, giving you a license to...
Yeah, there are companies that can give you, can, if you have good working relationship with them, but just know that they will own a bigger percentage of your company as well, because you're using their variety to promote, to multiply in Uganda or something.
And these are what you're calling variety. These are like patented products.
Yes. People patent their varieties. I mean, there are companies like in Uganda, you will never find two companies owning longer 10H variety of maize. Only one company owns one variety. Okay, so although seed companies now do a lot of research into things, and then they start naming their varieties. But immediately they name, the ministry mark that, and no one will ever name their variety that. Although there are other seed type that actually looks the same, but different seed companies have different names allocated to them. Like all maize are hybrid maize. If you talk about hybrid seeds, all maize varieties are hybrid varieties. Now, the reason why herders are better than herders is how those companies are good with their research.
I see.
And their production process. How they are serious with quality. There are other companies that are actually doing varieties in Uganda to beat varieties that are outside, but they don't put a lot of effort. When there's a lot of need for seed, they give up and start producing grain, selling grain and so on. But there are companies who are so strict that says that we are mandated to produce seed. And even if the demand is so high, we're still going to continue seed. If the seed get finished, the farmers have to wait.
I see.
Yes.
I see. And how hard is it to copy someone's variety, for example? If I copied one maize variety and I named it Matogo variety, how hard is that? So with hybrid, it's hard to copy. I see, okay.
Because hybrid, you can only plant and you cannot replant. Okay, it's a one-time off thing. So if you want to get the authenticity of the variety that is going to germinate, then you have to get from the authentic source.
I see.
Yes, I've seen, like the company that we are working with at the moment, someone tried to replicate their variety in Uganda. And then it went south. The guy supplied and it wasn't germinating. So they tried replicating the same thing by producing by themselves and packaging. It didn't work.
So, I also want to understand why you chose to... So I understand why you chose maybe to start in Lira, your hometown, right?
Yes.
But why didn't you come to the central next? Why did you have to go to the east? Why are you running away from where?
So it's not like I'm from that place. I'm from that place, right? But I always go where the demand. We are doing cereal crops. Okay. And northern Uganda, eastern, western has the highest number of farmers that do cereal crops. Okay. Central Uganda has a lot of farmers do a lot of matoke. Western Uganda has a lot of animal farmers, coffee, and so on. So the reason why we started with we are more like so much into northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, because there are so many cereal farmers that side. Okay.
I see.
In places in central Uganda that has cereal farmers, we are now trying to get there as well. We are having a project. We are finishing a project with USAID where we're going to start expanding to even Karamoja, promoting an edible variety of sorghum, which is different from the one that we're doing at the moment, which is mostly for malting. So we are going to expand to different places.
I see. And so you're also looking to expand from Syria at some point to...
So we are doing cereal and legumes because soybean is a legume crop. Yeah. So if we had another legume which is granite, but the issue is how do we... Granite seed is very easy to get. compared to other legume crops.
Okay. Yeah. Also, you want to be the iPhone for agriculture.
We want not only iPhone for agriculture. We also need to do things that give value to the company as well as give value to smaller farmers. The disadvantage with also granite is that the seeds are available, but the market is also not good. You see, and very few people want to actually buy granite by either.
Is it the same?
Most people want to consume it.
Yeah.
Yes. Talk about millet. We would have gone to doing millet in northern Uganda. There are so many people eat kalo everywhere in northern Uganda. But we cannot do that because it's not so that marketable. It's mostly edible. People just go to eat. So it has to be something that gives value to the company as well as give value to the smaller farmer or to the farmers that they're working with.
I see. So the other thing now is the factory, right? You guys are a processing plant, right? That is where you're going.
Yeah.
And how are you like comfortable sharing some of the vision you have for this?
So the vision that we have is that we need to have a big processing facility that does cleaning, because when you buy grain from farmers, it's not 100% clean, because we want to trade this grain with the East African market. We want to trade this grain East African market. So we need to do cleaning, we need to do drying, because most of the grain that are bought from farmers are above 20% moisture content. But for you to sell the variety outside Uganda, if you want to get good money out of it, it needs to be 14% moisture content. So that means that we need to invest in a drying facility where we dry, reduce the moisture content. Then we also need to do bagging of this grain. We want to do bagging, bag them well in 50 kilos that are branded with a gross supply, and then sell them. So we're going to have a real facility. If we can have a technology that also detects and remove aflatoxin at the factory, so that we don't have to start with what Kenya was putting into Uganda, that will also be good. But now, for me, I would not want to have that work for gross supply. I'm looking for a solution that works for smaller farmers. How can we have farmers detect aflatoxin? Okay, because if it's a gross supply, then that means that I'm being kind of a capitalist, buying from smaller farmers at a cheaper price, detecting the aflatoxin and then selling it at a higher price too, which is businessman. I'm a businessman, I would do that. Yeah. But I mean, my main goal is increasing the income of smaller farmers.
Yeah.
So we can look for something that farmers would use, which is affordable, to detect aflatoxin right from the grassroots. Then they bring to a facility without aflatoxin. We give them the premium price without aflatoxin. That would really work for me.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So yeah, I see. Do you have any idea? Are there any people in the world that are doing something similar to this?
Yes. So there is a gentleman in Uganda who is putting up something like that. It's called Amos Wakesa. So Amos is building a factory in Soroti in Eastern Uganda. And his factory is like a one-stop. He is going to have a machine that detects aflatoxin. So the technology is available.
I see, but this is still going to be the capitalist big man perspective.
I wouldn't say that. That is how he chose to run his business model. I can't say anything about that.
So how would this work? And I'm like trying to imagine how this would work for you to extend it to the actual farmer. Is it that you have, say, a machine for rental, like a machine you pay for, like you pay airtime for where you come, pass your grain in, check a flow.
So it depends. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
A moisture meter for grain costs more than $1,600. Okay, but we train our farmers to detect the moisture content of their grain at zero cost using a soda bottle. Okay, where they put grain into a soda bottle and detect the moisture. If uncover it, if the vapor is not coming out, that means the grain is dry. If the bottle has a little bit of dew, that means the grain still need to be dry. Okay, to a certain level. Until when you put grain in a bottle and nothing you can see nothing, then that means that grain is dry. So I believe that there is a way. I still don't know how I'm going to do this.
I see.
I still don't know how the machine that detects aflatoxin is going to work and how big it is. But I always find a way. Recently, we had a lot of farmers who were discouraged from planting sorghum in first season because of weaver birds who eats sorghum like there's no tomorrow. We found a solution. We found a company in Taiwan that would supply us with what we call the bird scarers. The things work without killing birds. You just use a battery, put it in your garden, has different sound that connects to the whole garden, and birds will not come to your garden. So there has to come a problem, and then we start looking for it, for the solution. So the problem is there. Now we're looking for a solution. I'm trying to recite. How can we help smaller farmers to detect aflatoxin in the cheapest way possible, so that when they're selling their grain, the grain has no aflatoxin?
I see. All right. So let's go back to the founder conversation, right? You start a business. You have you have an idea first, right?
Yes,
you have an idea. You have some money in your pocket. How do you start mobilizing people to work together? What was your process like, for example?
So I work with farmers. That's the basis. That I work with the organization that has put me in charge to work with farmers. But even though when I was starting my business, I started from within my home area, because those are people who I grew up there. They know me, and they can say, "Oh, this is the son of the soil. We're going to try his product." Because I knew if something is going wrong, my people cannot kill me, but other people would definitely not take me well. So I started from my own community. I organized people. I put them in a group, in farmer groups and also youth groups. Then I started testing the idea that I have with them. Even the layaway system started right from there, testing with them. Even the variety of seed. I remember when I supplied the first seed, it didn't germinate. They didn't take me, they took me badly, but I told them, I'm going to get this right and I'll get for you the right seed. So that is why I went into importing and I got for you the right seed. And that's how it started succeeding.
I see. But then the people, like right now, I know I was on the website. So I know there is a team of people. You know, you have managers. You have what? What is the process of bringing those people together?
So how did I get people? So me, I'm a gentleman who doesn't believe in experience when it comes to employing people. Most of the guys I work with, I just want the motivation to work in a startup that is doing something tangible and something that will create impact. Everyone the gentleman that I employed, who is now our head of operation, didn't even study agriculture. He studied international relations or something like that. But I asked him, do you really love agriculture? Can you work for a startup? Can you buy into the vision of what we're doing? And he was like, yes. When he came out of campus, I employed him as a volunteer without a document. He had not yet even graduated. But I'm telling you right now, if I am to bring him here and he sits for the podcast, he would bring AgroSupply like the way I'm bringing it out. He has mastered, he's so good into it. The lady I employed as a finance manager came to me. She was working as salesperson for Jumia. And when we advertised for the job, she applied. She came for the interview with a lot of people with a lot of experience, actually. People who have worked in finance sector and knows things. This lady didn't know how to use QuickBooks. I asked her, you don't know how to use QuickBooks or any financial tool or any system that govern money. How are you going to do it? It was like, I am willing to learn, and give me 1 month, I would know everything. And by there right now, she knows the thing. She even knows taxes like there's no tomorrow. She filed taxes for us. She does everything. So I believe in giving people opportunity to explore themselves, to be themselves, to be able to work, and also do something that they have passion about. Okay, because I always tell my staff that your workplace is a place that you spend most of your time second to your house. If I am to make this place a toxic place, you will not want to work. You would only want to earn money. But I don't want you to only earn money, but I want you to also work and feel like you're here. You buy into the vision. Feel like you really, if you want to do farming, we can actually plan and you start doing farming. So you need to buy into the vision of AgroSupply, how we want to grow, how we plan to grow and so on, so that you can work, but not only waking up in the morning, coming to sit down for all these hours just to earn money at the end of the month.
No. So that's one of the challenges that I've personally had in many businesses I've run, including this one. Is how do you sort of handpick the right people who can share your vision, right? And some of the stuff we do is interesting. So we're working in multimedia. So part of what we do is like shooting music videos and stuff like that, where you have to get people actually interested in stuff like that, right? But still, that money thing, like.
So what I always do is that we always have like recruitment firms.
Okay.
So a lot of people will apply for the job. Okay, recruitment firms will sit down with them. I only want the top 5. And then I will come in as a person. I want to meet the person through the interview and ask them questions that are not directed to profession. Okay, questions that are related to their vision as a human being,
himself,
their leadership, how do they interact with.
Wow.
I want to ask them about personal stuff. I ask people about personal stuff, not professional questions. Let other people ask them about professional questions, and then now from there, I'll say that this person has a lot of experience in this field, but I'm not employing that person. I am employing this person who doesn't have experience but has this kind of motive and this vision.
I see.
That is what I always see.
Yeah, my model initially was also, hire people you would have a beer with. But then I ended up hiring people who just want to have beer.
I know. I don't advise you to hire people you would have beer with. You can have work relationship, very good working relationship at your workplace, but there has to be some level of professionalism as well.
Yeah, true.
When people go south way or go east way, when people are working together, then the comfort start coming in. Okay, you find that people are being comfortable. Be as much as a leader at the workplace, but also do what is right, not doing what is easy. Doing what is easy is leaving the workplace and going to have a beer with your workers until midnight, and then they are late for work and you really don't care. Yet you know very well that yesterday you were out with them. So doing what is easy is actually having them as a family friend. Would you want your child to be drinking with you?
No, I see.
Yeah, but you would definitely love your child. You would love to have a relationship with your child, but you would not want to sit in the same place and drink with your child. There has to be a time though when you can drink with your child. I mean, like Christmas you can sit as a family and but there has to be some level of professionalism when it comes to operating.
I see. So the other thing that I want to understand, I don't know if you have like a specific, if you've been in a scenario like this, have you had downtimes? So I've done a couple of businesses, and I think that about 2 of them were managed to come out of a ditch, right? So usually when you're starting a business, you're very idealistic, you have a little bit of set of money maybe set aside to start this thing, and then you go in 1 year, say the second year, and maybe due to bad luck or maybe just due to poor oversight, something unexpected happens that starts taking you down. And at that point it usually takes a significant amount of skill, especially to retain the people you're working with, right? It requires a significant amount of like leadership skill to do that, to keep the thing afloat. Have you had a scenario like that?
Yes, we have. I think I've had a scenario where GrowSupply has gone bankrupt and I have to take a loan to pay the workers. So one thing that should always keep you motivated is what really made you start a company. Okay, was it to make money, or was it to build a product and that help people and make money out of it? The reason why I started a GrowSupply was to make money, but as well as help people who are struggling with farming needs. Okay, and I always know that the market is big because agriculture is the backbone of Uganda. Not only Uganda, even the whole of Africa. So we know that the market is there. We know that people are struggling, but because companies need financing, you might go back in a certain way, but that doesn't discourage me. I know that there's a good product that we're offering here and it's going to sell. Okay, we have had scenarios where we've gone bankrupt and we had to take loans, but my staff doesn't know that the company is bankrupt. Maybe the finance person knows that the company is not doing well. So there are those scenarios. It's not a smooth ride. There are a lot of bumpy roads that we as well as go through as a company, but we always there's what. So now that I have grown and I'm a company, I know what we call the rain season of a company. So if you are operating a podcast, you need to have at least a rain season plan for your podcast. Imagine the pandemic continue or the lockdown continue and people cannot record podcasts, they cannot stream your things on TV and so on. You cannot produce content, but there has to be. Are you going to close?
The plan, exactly.
There has to be a plan. So there has to be a certain plan. Even if a plan of only $5,000 or $2,000, there has to be something reserved as a backup plan for every company that operates. Because what if revenue stop coming now for about some time? How are you going to sustain? Those are things that we never thought about, but as a founder now, I have thought about. I think one thing that has made me also a good business person is that when I started a company in 2017, I knew very well that I had knowledge of agriculture, but I knew that I didn't have leadership knowledge. Okay, so I started doing leadership fellowship. I did a lot of leadership to really get the leadership knowledge that is needed to run a team and run a company and run a project that work with community. Okay, because as a human being, you might be the best business person ever, but you're a very shitty leader. That is not going to take you anywhere. You need to be a good leader to build a good company. Okay, to know everything. And then secondly, when money start coming into a company, there has to be some discipline. So you need to study a lot about entrepreneurship, how to manage growth. Okay, how do you manage from a podcast that was between you and your friends to something that you can call people into a studio right now to speak about you have to have a conversation? How can you manage from a small team of yourself to a bigger team? I started by myself. I brought in someone else. We're part of a big team now. So I need that experience, and there are people out there who have the experience who has to directly impact on you. So you need to also look for those kinds. Don't be selfish and think like you're going to run the thing on your own. No, you need to get advice from people who have done it several times and who have failed, who have gotten back again, who have failed and gotten back and made it, for you to be able to make it as well.
One of the things that I realized probably part of the core when you're trying to grow is having like a financial pro.
Yes.
So what I do like right now, I subscribe to a few services where I manage my finances, the way that I run expenses and incomes.
Yeah. So when you start a company, if you want your company to get lost and never come back, try to run it on Excel. Try to run a company on Excel and see how your company is going to get lost and it will never come back. Okay, you need a system that really determines that this is the amount of money that has been spent in expenses versus to this amount of money that's spent in revenue. Now, this is a system that someone else managed, not you yourself, was spend money in something and not going to include in your Excel. Excel will never help you in a business. You need a real system. And there are so many systems out there, even others are for free. Okay, that businesses can use to manage their business. You need something that will tell you to your face that your books are in negative or your books are in plus. You know that you can run a business for 2 years that has a lot of money but is not profitable. But you feel comfortable that there is money, but the business is never profitable. Okay, but you feel there is money because you don't know how you're operating. You don't know your operation cost. You don't know what cost goes in rent, what cost goes in whatever you're doing. Okay, you need to have a system that tells you how things are moving as a company. That is how we were in 2017. We didn't have any system running on Excel, but we needed to put things together. Okay, we now know that we're spending this amount of money on this. We're spending their fixed costs, their variable costs, and so on. So how do we manage this? How do we get the fixed costs that we already know and variable costs? How do we reduce them? How do we reduce the cost of acquiring smaller farmers to nothing so that we can have a profitable company? You see? So you need to have a system that helps you manage your business, because system will never lie. They don't even know you. They will not say that I know Kenneth because Kenneth is the one who installed me in their phone, so I need to do this. They don't. So they will really help you manage a business. But if you use the Excel way, your business is going to disappear and almost will never come back.
I see. Yeah. There's a lot of controversy. I'm now moving on a topic. There's a lot of controversy around agriculture. For example, when I have conversations with my dad and I tell him, hey, why don't we say plant vanilla? Say we have like land in the village, why don't we use that land to plant vanilla? And it's always telling me, oh, this is not a crop you want to plant, this is not a crop you want to plant. There's a lot of controversy around the kind of crops that maybe yield too much and how there's the word is mafia, I think, in Uganda. There's a certain group of people who want control over it. And I'm wondering, are you anticipating things like that? I know for right now, those are rare crops, if you talk about vanilla, for example, it's quite rare. But at a point, say when sorghum, when someone invents how to, say, make cooking oil from sorghum, and sorghum becomes the most valuable crop in Uganda. And you worry that at some point, because of the political nature of the country, it's going to become a very hard crop to yield.
So sorghum is actually a very valuable crop by there, because all the beer you guys take in this country is made from sorghum. I have seen that. I have seen monopoly. I have seen dictatorship in agriculture sector. Imagine a company who produce, let's say, cooking oil, dictating to farmers that you're going to sign a contract with us to get seed from us as well as sell your grain to us. That is monopoly, and that is dictatorship. So at the end of the day, they're going to give farmers very low price for their grain.
Who dictate the prices.
Okay, because they have a contract with them, then that farmer doesn't have a choice other than selling with them. But those companies are making a lot of money. That is why I don't want to enter that kind of thing. I don't want to enter a contract with the farmer to sell. Even if we set up this factory, we are not going to sign contract with farmers. We have to compete for the prices. I mean, let's give advantage to farmers for once to be able to also reap something out of what they're doing. Look at cotton. Until cotton now had to disappear, farmers had to make their mind that we're going to leave planting cotton in northern Uganda. Very few farmers plant cotton right now because there was a lot of politics. There are political crops that you should know.
Okay? True. Yeah.
These are things that you plant and then there's only one person controlling it. But if the reason why we're doing cereal because there's so much demand for cereal crops. People need. I have so many breweries that need sorghum.
True.
I have so many people that need soybeans. So many people that need maize.
Yeah.
First of all, if a farmer refuses to sell maize, they will go and mill it and eat a portion. But imagine a farmer getting stuck with cotton. How are they going to eat cotton? I am one of the people whose father got stuck with cotton, and we were forced to make mattress out of cotton. We just had to pour cotton in a sack and then sleep on top of it. Because there was no market. My dad didn't have to buy a mattress to eat that. We had to sleep on top of our cotton.
I see.
So, politics in agriculture, yes, it's there, but it can also be controlled.
I see. So the other thing is corporations, right? So these are stories I hear. Before I could make sense of the world, apparently Uganda had corporations. So say farmers could produce with a guaranteed market and they could sell, and then the corporations would help, say, export, or they would help take the product to the retailers and stuff like that. Are you looking at yourself as sort of the modern day capitalist kind of corporation?
So we actually do cooperation with the farmers. So long as you're working with someone and you have an understanding with them, that is cooperation, according to me. Maybe you're trying to talk about the cooperatives that were there.
I think
cooperatives that were there that put farmers together.
Yes.
So cooperatives also became dictators. They started dictating farmers. So a lot of farmers started falling off cooperatives, but I believe that cooperatives actually work better than individual farming. Because we work with farmers in cooperative and farmers in farmer group and individual farmers. Working with individual farmers is more harder than working with farmers in cooperative. Because one thing is farmers in cooperative already have an organization. Okay, they are together. They can have a bulk supply of sorghum. And then they will be in control of the price. The buyer will know that I am going to this cooperative, get these tonnages of grain, and then I have to offer them this. But if you're getting from a single person, imagine someone only have 100 kilo of maize somewhere in Bugiri, compared to a cooperative in Bugiri that has 5,000 kilos. Who will get the better benefit? Of course, the person who has. So cooperatives are good. If farmers would join cooperatives, it would be very easy for them to also have a voice, negotiate, has people represent them, and so on. So we work with all those farmers. We are not leaving the farmers who are not under cooperative to serve. We also work with individual farmers.
I see. Oh wow, yeah. So this business of farming, right? If I'm to invest today, what, like, I invest, I follow best practices from agro supply.
Yes.
How sort of do you think that it is I can do this alone and pay school fees for my children and also buy a Subaru like yours?
that is how a lot of people are benefiting. I mean, there are more than 33 million smaller farmers who live their life. There are 40 something million people in Uganda. How these 40 something 33 million of them are smaller farmers? Imagine. Now these are people who don't have jobs like you. These are people who benefit from farming, whose children go to school using farming money, whose family eats farming food, they go to hospital using farming money, and so on. So it's possible. But also, like any other business, farming also has a lot of risk. If you, like, what we're trying to work on now is how can we actually have insurance for farmers as well, so that in case something go bad, farmers doesn't suffer. completely. They have insurance, something to take. So there are always options. If you are farm, because it's not guaranteed that you're going to plant your crop and it will rain constantly. What if it doesn't rain? And that is something you don't have control over. Unless if you have enough money to invest in irrigation as a farmer. And secondly, irrigating a cereal crop is very hard. It's not hard, but it's expensive. Okay, irrigation works best with mostly vegetable. That is a little bit cheaper. But with cereal crops, light farms and so on, it becomes expensive. Rain-fed farming is the most convenient one and very applicable. But imagine if it doesn't rain. I have seen a lot of large-scale farmers that we work with come and buy seed worth 80 million Uganda shilling. Go and plant and it's got 20 million. Reason being it has failed to rain. But those people doesn't give up. There's a time they will come and buy seed worth 90 million and they'll get more than 200 million or 300 million. So farming has a lot of money, but like any other business, it also has risk. Even podcast business like this that you think like there's zero risk, there's always risk. The only business that's maybe but there's always risk is maybe like aquarium, keeping fish. If you does it well, there's always 1% mortality rate. But also that business has risk that when you get the fish out and people don't buy it, it can rot if you don't have a good freezer. So there's always every business has risk. Every business really has risk.
I see. Yeah, so as we actually about to conclude, a few days back or yesterday even, Museveni gave a speech to the UN, and part of what he talked about was how global warming is raising the water levels in Lake Victoria. And as a guy who's investing in farming, I don't know, do you anticipate very short-term impact on farming in Uganda due to climate change and global warming?
Climate change is real, but people are also not naive. People are always innovating. Let me give you an example. Climate change has not started today, and it's not ending tomorrow. It started a long time ago, but people have been moving to the trend. You see, there are companies who are not sleeping at night developing drought-tolerant variety of seed that can match with the trend of climate change. The varieties that we plant, but that we are supplying right now, are drought-tolerant. There are varieties that can receive only rain for a half a season and still produce the same. So those are drought-tolerant variety. Scientists are also not, or agricultural researchers are also not sleeping. Every day they know that there is climate change, and every day they're innovating something, a variety of seed that helps in fighting climate. So, I mean, farmers will always have the best when researchers keep working. Right now, the reason why we have the shortest variety of seed that only takes 80 days in a garden is because climate change is real. I mean, the first season has the shortest rain. So if you want to get the best out of your farm, get the shortest variety that will take a shorter period of time and maximize the small rain that is there to be able to yield to its maximum. So researchers are not sleeping. They're also producing each and every time and innovating. Innovation doesn't only mean that people have to develop Uber and ride-hailing apps and so on. But people in agricultural sector are also very innovative. They're developing varieties of seed that can fight climate.
I see. Oh yeah. So the question before the last one now is the way we pitch, by the way, our podcast also, we tell people that we want to draw your portrait through conversation. So Joseph, who's this guy? We want to know your story from the 10-year-old who's farming with the father.
So I was raised in a humble village called Odiebwen village in a Gali sub-county, and Pine Long Parish, a Gali sub-county within Lira district. I grew up the third born, a first born and a second born died. Then I was the third child. The person who came after me also died. I think my father and my mom, my parents were a bit unlucky with having mostly female children. So we end up being only male in our family. My mom gave birth to four children who survived, and they are only boys. We're only men actually. No, I'm a man. I'm not. They're also boys. So and then my dad, my mom died in 2009, and then my dad got a second wife, and she gave birth to two girls and one boy. So now we are 7 in total. I am the acting firstborn at the moment. I studied I told you about I did certificate diploma. I did certificate in general agriculture, then did a diploma in crop production. Then I went ahead and did a degree. And then my dad died in 2014. I think after the death of my dad is actually I started working really hard because I have this huge load of children. That are above there, and I need to take care of them. I needed to take care of them, but I was employed. I needed to really be innovative. I needed to find something. And secondly, working with my dad as a smaller farmer in a rural village also gave me a lot of experience because I used to go farm with him. I have seen different variety of seed ever since I was 10 years old. I have seen farming firsthand. I would call myself a generation farmer because I'm still a farmer up to now. So that is why I decided that I needed to study agriculture so that I know something. I didn't even want to go to A level. I didn't even go to A level. I decided to just venture and start from certificate. I know agriculture very well, so I can go back to the community and help people. So basically, that's about Joseph. And then in 2016, I quit my job and started Agro Supply in 2017. It was just an idea, getting input, sourcing it from seed companies, opening up what we call local stores and selling it through the stores to smaller farmers. That worked well because I opened like 5 stores within Lira district alone in a community. So I didn't want farmers to move to Lira town to go and get seed because some farmers would move like 40 kilometers riding a bicycle, others would walk and so on. I wanted them to have seed at their doorstep. So they moved to their next trading center, get seed, and get someone who is trained, who know agricultural knowledge, to give them knowledge about how to plant that seed. They would buy. Like I told you, we sold seed in first season, and then in second season, a lot of farmers came back asking seed on credit. And that is now how it took me back to what I was doing when I was employed. I was like, I don't think I would want to do this in my own company. So I need to be innovative. And that is why the layaway system came in.
Oh, I see. Wow. Okay, that's quite the story. So now the very last one.
What is the legacy? You've done quite a lot right now, and you have this innovating around payment as well. What is the one thing you want to do before you feel like you're ready to retire?
What is that one thing that I really want to do? So I really want to leave a legacy in agriculture sector. Okay, I want good quality seed to move to the last mile. I want every farmer to be able to plant with good quality seed, not replanting political varieties of seed and not getting what they're supposed to get. Okay, I want to be able to train farmers, train young people that agriculture sector is beneficial. Not only something for people who are dirty, who live in rural area, who are not educated and so on. I want to let them know that this is actually the backbone of our country. This is something that would benefit this country if it was put first. So that's the legacy I want to have. And also, I want to be one of the biggest businessmen in this country that supply the whole of Africa with agricultural products. Not only grain, so I want to take up the whole value chain, benefit the smaller farmer down there, and also supply the elites across Africa with good quality finished product of agriculture. If we can set up that factory, then my dream would come true. And in a few years from now, I would actually quit Agro Supply and start something else with my life. If we can achieve all that.
I see. Wow. That's quite the story. Joseph, thank you very much for accepting our invite to be on this podcast.